What's up? Welcome in. A little bit of a different look. This is going to be a different feel. Everything's going to be different. This is what Miguel is calling the reality TV look. This is the Survivor look. So I that made me really want to use it. So it's a new podcast, and we're strictly Star Wars every other time of the month, every time of the year. But to go into 2025, we want to do something a little different. So we took a couple months to think about what we wanted to do. And here we are, the first episode of Deep Space Cinema with Miguel and myself to talk about what movies came out the previous month, like what are the big ones. We're going to talk about the movies we're looking forward to the next month. Each one we might look a little bit different. But today, Captain America, Brave New World. We're going to review that. We're probably going to tear this one to pieces a little bit. And then we're going to preview the Oscars because I know there's some films we're both very passionate about, some people we really want to win, some things that we don't necessarily want to see succeed. And then, of course, we're going to look into some movies coming up in March that we're very excited for. So, Miguel, Captain America, Brave New World was definitely amongst most people's favorite MCU movies of all time. Probably in the upper echelon of all MCU. I'm sorry. I think I had this mistaken with Captain America Winter Soldier. Sorry. Brave New World was in, as kindly as I can say it, mostly a disaster. Is that what you would say?
I would call it a very, very, very bad movie.
And of course, you have Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Danny Ramirez starring in this one, Julius Ona as the director. But what didn't work well in this movie? And that may be a long list. I hate saying disaster. There were a few elements I was intrigued by or had fun, but it's not. The more I sit with it, the more I just kind of think back about nothing really worked right in this for me. So where are you on the what didn't really work well for you? And that may be a long list.
I mean, it's a long list, and it's also not. It's just like I would point out just a couple things, and I think that these are major issues, but uh,
Mhm.
these are for me the major issues. One is the writing. The writing was terrible. There are I don't know. I think 57 writers created in this movie, and it shows.
Right.
It's very clear that they had to run multiple drafts of the script. They were running multiple drafts while in production. They were rewriting after shooting. They were rewriting while reshooting,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure they were rewriting the week before it was released. So
Mhm.
uh, it was very bad, and not just from a line per line analysis, which I mean,
Right.
some of those lines were like really, really terrible.
Well, the some of
Uh,
the lines too, it was clear that hey, we have Harrison Ford from 9 to 2. We got to get these lines in. We got to get them going. Like, how many times I need to I want to rewatch it because I just want to count the number of times I feel like a character like Harrison Ford was talking to
about the
someone
cherry
and
blossoms,
like about the cherry blossom. Oh my goodness! But even talking about it, but they're not even in the same frame, or he's looking a different direction. Like it's like were these people ever even in the same room for some
right?
of these scenes that they were shooting? Whenever some of the reshoots they went through, I'm sure it all feels so disjointed, and some of the dialogue that you mentioned, some of the lines being so bad, some of it felt like content that you would get from a really bad show you're streaming that
Yeah,
knows that maybe you're gonna go
yeah.
do the dishes and it's just got to catch you up on what happened in Eternals or what happened in what was it the Winners, was it Captain America,
Well, I mean, the Incredible
what
Hulk
was the
as well.
show, oh my gosh,
Oh,
I'm
the
just
Falcon
blanking
and the
on the show.
Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah, like some
Yeah.
things that happen, or even like you said, the Incredible Hulk catching us up on things that we may or may not remember or have seen, and in a very just dumbed down sort of way.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we can go into like the more details. I do have some issues with, for example, I didn't really like how the new cap was integrated into the world because like it just seems like everyone just moved on from Steve Rogers, and everyone now refers to Cap as Anthony Mackie, or Sam. And I just didn't find that realistic. Just
Mhm.
like whenever you're referring to like this is Captain America, like after 10 or well, not
Mhm.
even 10 years, but 80 years of Steve Rogers being this person, like, but that's like a very minor issue. My main issue is with the writing at
Mhm.
large, and with the just, I mean, you're like, if you want to go line by line, like some of those lines just felt like not even a first draft of the script. They felt like a tentative line to just move on to the like a placeholder, just to
Right.
say this is what we want this dialogue to be like,
Mhm.
not to be like, but like the information we want to convey in this dialogue, and they just didn't
Mhm.
like replace the placeholder.
Mhm.
And Harrison Ford's obsession with the cherry blossoms, it just felt like a very bad attempt at
What about what's wrong
a
with the cherry
metaphor.
blossoms, Mega? You've never had a tree and something that you just were really fond of that you were
It's
telling
just,
everyone about all the time?
it was just very bad. Like a very bad attempt at a metaphor that I didn't even eh, understand. So maybe
Mhm.
I'm just a dumb person here, but I didn't really understand the meaning besides the significance of this of the relationship between him and his daughter. But like, why is he bringing it up so often, and why
Right.
was I don't know. But again, that's like
Mhm.
nitpicky. That's like the main issue is the writing, and that goes again from line by line analysis to the full structure of the script. It just felt
Mhm.
very convoluted, very simple, very straightforward, like something they would have done in 2011 with the writing by the
Mhm.
1990s.
Okay.
And I think we've evolved from both of those eras.
That's fair. There's so
And
much
even
about this movie that's I question the decision making on why. For instance, his security detail woman like that was former like black like a former widow that
yeah,
just happened to
yeah,
be there. Like
who is
what was
like
the point
five
of her
foot,
existing?
yeah,
Well,
5 feet tall, right? Yeah,
she's tiny.
I mean,
That was
yeah, and my other main issue was with the editing, and this can also be extended to some of the direction, which was very poor, especially in the action scenes. But the editing was just not good. It was very rushed. It was very clear that they didn't have a voice, and they just needed to get on to the next scene. There's there's this don't want to say analogy, but like this way of seeing movies that I really enjoy, and I
okay.
think illustrates a lot of things of how they approach a movie, and it is the distinction between the story and the plot. So the plot speaks of the actual things that happen,
Hmm.
while the story is what you want to tell through those actions.
Hmm.
And this was a plot-driven movie and not a story-driven movie. And all the bad movies are plot-driven, and all the
Hmm.
better movies tend to be story-driven, where you have a
Hmm.
distinct voice that that you want to convey something, and you
Hmm.
use a plot to do so, not
Hmm.
the other way around. And this was very plot-driven, very plot-heavy, and they just had something. They always needed to have something going on so the audience wouldn't get distracted. And
Hmm.
that's not the right way to approach a movie. And
There was the fact that you have Giancarlo Esposito's character,
yeah,
Sidewinder, who was in there, and it seems like he was if I'm correct, he was like a late addition to
yeah,
this movie, and it shows because he doesn't really have a major
no,
purpose.
no,
It's
he's.
at all.
I would say that I was expecting him to be even less coherent to the full extent of the narrative. Like I
Mhm.
was expecting him to be. not even have real relevance to the actual plot of the movie,
Mhm.
and he kind of did. Like some of
Right.
the ways that Cap approached the actual villain of the movie were through him, which I'm not sure what they were doing before, but uh,
Mhm.
at least that it felt a little bit cohesive in that way. Not that it was cohesive, uh, uh, you know, by any means, but at least there was some clunky attempts for that to be.
They tried.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
so what doesn't work for me the most with this film, and tell me if this how high this maybe ranks for you, is just how ahead of the movie we are as an audience member watching when
Yeah.
the big
Okay.
thing in the movie is Harrison Ford's, or
Yeah.
you know, President Ross's transformation into the Red Hulk. But we know that happens. We've seen
Yeah.
that's what they've been using as their main marketing tool in the trailer, and he was on the poster, for crying out loud. And so because that doesn't happen until the very end of the movie with 15 minutes left, the whole time you're just sitting there like waiting for it, and then
Yeah.
you're hoping in your mind like, well, maybe at least the payoff is going to be good, and then the payoff isn't really that good. There wasn't, even in terms of the two characters fighting each other. You know, you have Falcon with his various powers and he has the shield, he's got his wings and all of that, and then you have the Red Hulk, and then it just turned into like, I'm just gonna slash him a few times and then talk him down with the trees as they erupt and when they blow in the wind. And
Right.
so it just felt like the payoff, that if I'm sitting through 2 hours where I know the ending essentially of what's going to happen here, you want that payoff to hit. And when the payoff doesn't hit, it feels like you were almost cheated a little bit, because yeah, you said things about the editing isn't that great. There's a lot of bad dialogue in the movie. All of those things are completely valid, coupled with the fact that the main draw of the plot driven story we already are aware of, and it doesn't get executed very well.
I mean, all of that is fair. I also don't think that's on the director's
Right.
responsibility. So the director's responsibility is to actually tell a good story, and that is also the writer's responsibility.
Mhm.
And that is typically what I tend to focus on when I criticize a movie. So what
Mhm.
was the actual intention here, and how was that
Mhm.
intention executed? So from that point of view, I don't mind that they spoil the big reveal of the
Mhm.
movie
Okay.
in the trailers. From the movie watching experience, uh, kind of side of the criticism, I can understand that, and I completely
Mhm.
agree. At the same time, I don't think that that surprise would have actually fixed the movie, because the
Mhm.
movie was
No.
way wasted before that. So
Right.
uh,
I'm not saying that fixes the movie. I might enjoy it. For me, how I love, obviously the story. I really want a great story. But for me, my experience at the theater, just being there, like that for me is the most important thing. Because for me,
right,
an average movie, if I'm having a great time and I have a really great experience when I'm watching it, I'll go rewatch that average movie. Like Gladiator 2, I don't think it's a great movie by any metric, but I saw it IMAX theater, had my, a great popcorn bucket. It felt big. It felt grand. There was enough there that elevated it for me to where I will rewatch that movie just because I harken back to I had a great experience with this. And so even when I saw it, everything was going poorly. And then the experience itself couldn't even round out into form to where that really bothers me as someone who, if I'm going, I want this experience to at least leave me feeling something. I don't want to leave the theater feeling nothing. Actually, I
right.
take that back. Sometimes it's better to feel nothing than
Then to feel
intense
disoriented, like you felt watching some of those action scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But again, I don't think that the surprise factor of the Red Hulk
Mhm.
would have actually made my experience a lot better. First of all,
Mhm. Right.
we knew that because of rumors that he was gonna turn into the Red Hulk,
Right.
like pretty much from the moment they announced Harrison Ford
Mhm.
as Thunderbolt. So I mean, yeah, some of those images you didn't know until you
Mhm.
saw the trailer, but you kind of suspect it
Mhm.
because you're on the internet. At
Right.
least I suspect it.
So
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
like,
go
let's
ahead.
take a couple minutes here and talk about like the larger MCU
Okay.
thing that's going on here, because with you know Thunderbolts coming out here in a couple months, and then Fantastic Four, it feels like, this is my interpretation, is that what we've been seeing recently is they need to get some, like you said, creative vision back in the room, and we need to really tell some good stories, because what they've been doing now, I feel like, is we need to generate a content that falls
Yeah.
directly in the line of what we are doing. And that's where I start to, this is why I've kind of pushed back on people sometimes wanting more of this MCU level stuff in Star Wars, where we're connecting all these different projects together to create these big events, because you run into this problem of, well, now we're so far into this, everything has to connect together. Everything has to weave in and out. And we ran, Star Wars can't even run into that problem sometimes with trying to find ways to work around different canon events and stories.
Yeah.
But with the MCU, it almost feels like just this exposition, just spoon feeding Marvel content dump straight from a comic that they're trying to take, versus like, we're going to give some sort of real creative vision, and then the editing, just everything just feels scaled down. Like, I remember back years ago when I saw Iron Man 3, and I go watch Iron Man 3, and I feel like Iron Man 3 looks better than anything that we've gotten from Marvel recently. I feel like that was just a really great Tony Stark story, not necessarily some story that had to fuel the entire MCU timeline. And there were some different payoffs from that came down the line. And right now it just feels like, hey, you needed to watch this, this, and this, and we're gonna feature this. And it felt like the whole movie is just like, yep, a direct line into whatever the next thing is.
Well, I mean, me personally, I am on the opposite side of that argument.
Okay.
Um, just because I am a payoff guy. Okay.
Hmm.
I Endgame is my favorite movie in the MCU
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. Okay. One of them being how much it paid off everything that had happened. So it was I thought it was a story that worked alone, but
Hmm.
that also like that final hour was had so many payoffs to so many things that
Hmm.
you had invested some time into, that it just felt so much more rewarding for it. At the
Hmm.
same time, I thought it was a very emotional story, and I
Hmm.
thought that that movie was story driven more than it was plot driven, which it also was. Okay, but that was a very emotional movie, uh, both because of the whole concluding the story of
Right.
that we started 11 years ago, but also because of the events that happened, because of the loss of however many millions of people that died in the past movie, or because of the years that they spent uh, wasting, those that 5 year gap and
Right.
all that,
Right.
that the Natasha's death and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of weight into that final hour that I could feel, and because of that, I was very invested.
Hmm. But
Um,
at the same time, though, you're so invested because of there are so many great individual like movies that you can watch
yes,
leading up to that.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, but I don't think Endgame works as well. Like Endgame worked even despite some of those movies not being very good.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
case in point being Thor 2. Thor 2 has a very big role to play in Endgame that it does, and the movie does not stand very well by itself. And then
Mhm.
and then some of those plot points are carried over into Endgame, and Endgame is not better because Thor 2 was bad or because it was good.
Right.
Endgame is good because it was able to understand how to pull the strings it needed to pull.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, on the Russos and Marcus McFeely's, you know, uh, it was a win of theirs rather than the Faggies or the MCU
Mhm.
at large. I think that
Okay.
was I think that could have gone very poorly, and it didn't. And I think we should champion the creators that did it, as opposed to whoever came before them, who they're also responsible partially because of. But you know what I mean. And because of that, or rather, like for example, I don't feel like we've had a very cohesive understanding of where things are going now. If
Right.
if we take aside the announcements that have been happening at Comic Con, you know,
Mhm.
I don't think that post Endgame we've had anything that we can say, okay, I know where this is leading. Because with
Mhm.
Infinity Stones, yeah, we kind of knew that there are these stones that some at some point are gonna come together in this like this purple guy that may or may
Mhm.
not be looking for them, and so on. I I know Doctor Doom is coming because I've seen that video from Comic Con. I don't think
Mhm.
anyone else knows. And by anyone
You
else, I
you
mean
don't you don't think that Sam Wilson knows about why
no.
Doctor
I mean
Doom
just
might
the
become
same way that Iron Man didn't know that
right.
Thanos was collecting stones, but someone did in the
Someone
MCU.
did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We had been introduced to that idea that he was collecting them and that someone knew. No one knows at this point who Doctor Doom is, at least as far as we've seen.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, I mean, the whole gang of it all, I, I, I honestly like the way that was concluded. Have you seen Loki, by the way?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen both seasons of Loki.
So I thought that they don't exactly need to finish off the gang story because I thought that that was because the taking aside the last
Mhm.
scene from Ant-Man 3 where like it's teased that he may come back. I thought that he was there was a nice end to his story in Loki season
Mhm.
2. So I
Absolutely.
don't necessarily think that the behind the scenes stuff that happened with Jonathan Majors and so on, that's gonna affect the full story of this post Endgame era.
Right.
But I do think that the lack of cohesion up until this point is gonna affect it once we get to the Avengers movies
Mhm.
because we have an Avengers movie supposedly coming out this next year. At least it's shooting this year, and I don't think there's a sense of what's really happening in that
Of what's
movie
the like
based
what's happening, what's the point? Why do we need, these people
based on what's
together?
happened
Mhm.
up until now.
Right. No, that and
Yeah,
that's a good way to finish up the MCU argument is that they have 2 movies coming out this year, and is there correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing else coming out before supposedly Avengers comes out in 2026. Like, it's these
but
2 and then,
no, because they removed
like, film-wise.
Blade. So yeah, it's gonna be Fantastic Four. I mean, this was going to be the plan all along to have a Fantastic Four movie
Right,
6 months before the Avengers. Uh, of course, many things have changed since that plan
right.
was announced. But yeah, there's no movie between Fantastic Four
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Avengers. Which, by the
So,
way, I am
that
shocked
movie.
that they are keeping the July date, and I am also shocked that they haven't announced a delay of Avengers Doomsday.
Mhm.
But I think that's coming.
Do you think they might wait till after Fantastic Four comes out before they announce the pushback of Avengers?
I mean, well, I mean, it's interesting because like you said, they don't have anything else going on. So are they gonna go on for a full year without a movie? Like meaning between July and next summer?
Mhm,
I don't know, but at the same time, like the VFX pipeline is like is working at full capacity right now, and they don't have an Avengers movie
mhm.
to work on. So
Right.
I don't know. Seems like a
So
very tight turnaround time.
It's it's gonna be a tight turnaround, and we'll see. They need oh goodness, they need Fantastic Four to be everything that they need it to be. So I will say
Yeah.
that that's saying something without saying nothing at all. So
Just
we're
to wrap up,
yep.
what do you think of the
Mhm.
trailer?
I don't love it. I'll be honest.
Okay,
I
me
don't love
neither.
it. It feels really fluffy. Is that make
Yeah,
sense? Like it just
I
feels
don't I
very
don't like. I personally don't like the retro aspect
Mhm.
of it all.
It's like this retro aspect, but I don't know for whatever reason, I can't buy it, like, when I'm watching the
Yeah,
trailer, like, I can't I'm not bought into that, and so
yeah,
maybe the movie will feel different or the next teaser trailer that comes out, I'm sure they'll drop another teaser here soon, so I'm sure the
yeah.
next thing maybe feels a little different, but yeah, I don't love it. It doesn't get me excited, but we'll see. Never know. I'm much more excited for Superman, so we'll talk about that in a few months,
Okay.
though. But was there any other movies in February that came out that you enjoyed and were worth talking about before we get into just some Oscar talk?
I mean, I've mostly been catching up with Oscar
Right.
stuff. There's the Monkey, which I haven't seen. Uh, that's
Oh, don't get me
supposedly
started on the monkey. Do not.
not very good.
I haven't seen it at all. I just know Janelle really wants to go see it with me, and
Okay,
do not do like scary movies and everything.
okay,
And
me
so
neither.
I'm terrified that I'm going to get roped into going to see the monkey and I'm just gonna sit there and hate it. So I've been
Right.
trying to not mention it at all in the hopes that it'll just kind of disappear from her mind.
Okay, I haven't caught up with that. I'm not very interested, to be honest. It's not been because it's just been because I'm not interested.
Mhm.
But that's like the other movie aside from the Oscar stuff
Okay.
that's I think come out
Yeah.
in a big way at least.
Mhm. So, speaking of Oscars, here we go. Next week, week from when we're recording this on a Sunday, so a week from whenever we're recording this, we'll be sitting down to get ready for the Oscars. Are you going to watch live? I mean,
Yeah,
you're going to stay
always
up
do.
late to watch. Okay, that's
You,
awesome.
you know,
Janelle and I,
you wanna you wanna know what was my first ceremony watching live? You wanna
which one?
guess?
Was it the Will Smith slapping
No,
The Rock or
it was
Chris
not.
Rock? Okay, which
No,
one?
it was the La La Land one.
Oh, okay, and that
So
oh
you
my
have to
gosh, yeah. That
picture,
when I
okay?
was thinking of the slap, I was like, what was the other big one? Okay, yeah. I mean, your
You
first
have to
time
picture
watching live.
that this was back in
And you
in
love La
in
La Land. That's
2017.
like your favorite
Yeah,
that's one of your favorite
yeah, yeah,
movies of all time.
yeah. It is in my top 10. It is in my top 10 now. I mean, I by the way that by the time that the Oscars happened that year, I had seen it 6 times in theaters. And I was like so excited. By the way, I love La La Land. I also love Moonlight. I think
Okay.
Moonlight is an extraordinary film. So I was very happy the 2 minutes that La La Land won, but I am not upset at all that Moonlight won.
I
So it's
I
not
still
like,
can't believe I still can't believe that that was a thing that happened. What was it? Oh my goodness. Who I'm trying to remember last year was it last year? Who it was they had announcing either it was like best picture or best lead actor who came on and was probably supposed to deliver like a full line about each thing and he just came up there and just spewed off and
oh,
you know what I'm talking
that
about?
was Pacino.
Yes, it was Pacino. That was so funny. I remember
That was
watching
very
that.
funny.
Janelle looked at me and goes, "Was that guy supposed to do that?" And I said, "I don't think he was supposed to. I don't think he handled that the way that they wanted
Yeah,
him
yeah.
to."
So the thing about this, so you have to understand that. By the way, they do. I'm very opposed to the Oscars being in March now. They used to be in February. I think they should be by the Super Bowl, but the latest. So meaning
Mhm,
they should be in January. You're celebrating the movies from last year. They should be in January, maybe mid March,
mhm,
maybe mid February, not March. So by
right.
in 2017, when this ceremony happened, it was like mid February. And by that time, like the ceremony was taking place between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Spain time. Okay. So it was like a full 4 hour ceremony, which is now like maybe shrunk down to like three and a half, maybe three and a quarter or so.
It's a good
It was
three and
like
a half, yeah.
6:15 a.m. Okay. I was just like dying to go to bed. And then I was La La Land. I was so happy. And I almost turned off the TV because I was just like, this is like,
Finally, it's over,
yeah,
done.
finally it's over. They won.
Put it
Just
off.
just get on
Put
with
it
it.
off.
And I didn't do it. And I don't know if it was instinctively because like something was wrong. Because you instantly knew that something was
Right.
wrong because there were like people there that didn't need to be there and so on. And
Mhm.
I don't know if I got that or I just waited to see the speeches, and then just that thing happened, and I was like, "What is? going like, is this going to be every year like this?
You're like, this is great. This is drama. No, but it's funny
Yeah,
too. If you had just clicked it off and you just go about your day, I wonder, like, how long does it take before you see it? Or
yeah.
do you talk to someone later? You're like, yeah, I was so happy La La Land won, and you're like, you don't know, you didn't. What is this? They probably would think you're joking. No, so Janelle, we actually talked today. I told Janelle, I was like, the Oscars are next week, so you're coming over to watch, right? Because we've been dating for we've been together for 3 years now. We watch every year together. We really like doing that. And she goes, yeah, like, do we? I said, she said something like, oh, you want me to come over and watch? I was like, we watch together every year. That's like she goes, we do. And I'm thinking, how you don't know, like, you don't know this. I started saying last year you were screaming at the TV for Cillian Murphy to win best actor the whole time. And she goes, was last year. And I'm like, and I'm telling her about the time that, remember when we watched and you just wanted Austin Butler to win something, so to see if he would talk in his Elvis, voice, and or if he would talk about. She goes, I guess this is kind of our thing. And I said, oh, what is going on right now? And so she goes, I guess I'll come over next Sunday. I'm like, dude, it was so crazy. So I have four things I really want to talk about. We branch off and talk for the Oscars this year, but I think it's safe to say that we definitely need to spend some time talking about Anora, which
Mhm.
I saw it last week. Finally, it's been a movie that Janelle and I have really wanted to see. Janelle is in love with this movie. She
Okay,
absolutely wants this movie to clear, and everyone that's involved with this movie to just clear the
I
whole
like
show.
her
So
already.
yes. So I really loved it as well. We had a really fun time with it. We were really glad we saw it. I know you have a few things to say about this one. So you take it
I mean,
away.
I've been chasing you to watch this movie since October,
Right.
so you finally did it now. This was my favorite movie of last year. There's a
Mhm.
couple that I haven't seen yet. Okay, so I should say that right up front that I
Mhm.
haven't seen The Substance.
Same.
I haven't seen Nickel Boys either, and maybe there's a couple others that I still haven't caught up with. But this was of all the movies that I saw, this was my favorite by far, by far. The joy that this movie brought was undescribable, and it was just a pure experience, like pure cinematic experience. Like you want to talk about MCU experience, this was a pure experience at the cinema. You're laughing, you're you're bawling
Yeah.
your eyes out because of you're laughing so much, and by the end you're crying so much as well. That
Janelle
this
didn't
was
know it was gonna
everything
be funny, like, it was gonna be, like, a funny mo
right.
she didn't look into it that much. I knew that there would be some stuff that'd be pretty funny, and so she's laughing so hard, and she just looked at me after the music. I thought this was gonna be, like, a super intense drama the whole time, and I said and so that was fun. Yeah, the comedic element cannot be understated.
It, it is the full movie, that comedic statement, until the very end that you
Mhm,
realize, oh, this is what this was.
mhm.
I'm not gonna spoil it just in case. But yeah, that final scene was just a punch in the throat. You have to realize also that I saw this movie in London at the London Film Festival, which is like in an audience of I don't know over 1,000 people, and all of them were like laughing so hard that you couldn't help but laugh even harder just because of the
Right.
communal experience.
That's fantastic.
So that was also like a huge part of it. But then I also saw it with a couple of friends a, cou- a month later or so, and they
Mhm.
just shared the same experience. Like, and I was
Right.
still laughing so hard. So, uh, and no, it's not just about the laughs. It's also like a very, it's a very creative movie
Mhm.
in
Well, it's
how it
super fresh.
approaches.
It feels
Exactly,
it feels
it is a breath
different
of
from
fresh air.
everything else that,
Yeah,
typically has come out.
yeah. It because it mixes up so many genres. Like,
Mhm.
yes, it's a comedy, but it's also like a drama, and it's a class comedy as well. Like, it's just in a class drama as well. Like, it just addresses that. hierarchy of classes in such a direct way, and
Hmm.
you cannot help but feel but relate to a couple characters. I will say that just in case people who haven't watched it yet, there's the main character and there's also another character who you later in the movie really start to relate to, and yeah, I mean, Mikey Madison is just amazing. She is a force of nature, and I was just in love with her braveness in this
Hmm.
performance. That
Hmm.
she was, I don't know,
She
she
hits
was
she
amazing.
hits every note.
Yeah,
She makes you laugh, makes you cry.
yeah,
You're pumping your fist. You are excited. I mean, she's able to give like the range that she delivers in her
yeah.
performance in this movie is is really unparalleled to everything else I saw this year. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that there weren't other fantastic performances. I'm looking like at in terms of like other actresses and leading roles, but I haven't seen The Substance like you, and I haven't seen I'm Still Here, Fernanda Torres. So I'm not knocking
Okay.
anyone else, but everything else I saw,
Right.
that one, stood alone. Would this be the what's the most explicit movie to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars? I
So
mean, the
I've
first
heard that argument. I would
I don't I
counter.
don't I don't know. I wouldn't say I've done
I would
research
counter
on that.
with Everything Everywhere at Once.
Mhm.
That had some really explicit sexual content. Like, yes, this is like fully naked, fully like explicit sex in it, but Everything Everywhere was pretty nutty, and that
Yeah.
was like there was some
Mhm.
stuff in there that uh,
Mhm.
would have was still is unheard of for a Best Picture winner. Like
All right.
Oppenheimer is like the more
Mhm.
traditional Best Picture winner,
Traditional.
and Everything Everywhere All at Once was just like.
Mhm.
So this is what the Academy is now.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what makes me think that Anora has a real shot at winning
Yeah.
Best Picture. And we don't have to get into all the drama around like Emilia Perez gets all of these nominations, and then you've because of things it's disappearing from like the awards. You're not seeing and when
Well, I
check
mean, I would
anything
keep
here for
an eye out for Zoe.
okay.
Yeah, I
And
she is
so
a
I yeah,
prime
we'll go for it.
candidate for that
Hmm.
category.
Hmm. But in terms of like everything everywhere all at once winning, I think paves the way for movies like Anora to actually
Yeah,
win Best Picture
yeah, that
this
is true.
year. And so,
It's also
but
like,
if it's not Anora and it goes with a more traditional approach, is there a movie that
yeah, it's gonna be the
strikes
Brutalist.
your
It's
fancy?
not Honora.
Okay.
The Brutalist. Not like I think that's the main contender. Like that's the more traditional. This is what a Best Picture looks
Mhm.
like. There's some people saying Conclave, but I don't think Conclave has the weight of a Best Picture winner. I don't think it
Mhm.
has. Conclave is pretty safe, and
Mhm.
but not safe in like best picture material. It's more
Okay.
like a competently made movie
Mhm.
that just
What
had
well then
some.
what about explain what about the Brutalist then? I need to watch The Brutalist. I wanted to go see it so bad. Like that's the kind of movie I would actually love. Just I'm there for 4 hours watching The Brutalist. Like I would love that. But with coaching basketball and then with grad school right now, it was just impossible to get. I'm finally able to get to the theaters again, which is why I went to go see A Complete Unknown yesterday.
Right.
I haven't been able to see The Brutalist. My goal is maybe next Saturday I can slip away to watch one more before the Oscars. But what about something like The Brutalist makes that absolutely yes, you're saying no brainer this over Conclave. But as I watched Conclave, love that movie. Absolutely loved it. I get what you're saying, maybe a little more safe, but what about The Brutalist would have it step aside other than, an extra hour of runtime?
I mean, it's more. It's the brutal is an epic. Okay, it's like you're following this story over decades, and you're seeing the evolution of this guy throughout his life and how several events have impacted him uh, to 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 make certain decisions and also to behave in a certain way.
Mhm.
So you're like getting the full scope. Actually, one of my criticisms is that the second half uh, goes a little fast.
Okay.
Uh, and I mean that as a criticism in that some of the decisions, some of the changes that the main character experiences, and not even the main character, but also like Guy Pearce's character,
Mhm.
um, are a bit. There's some gaps missing in there. I think. I get the
Mhm.
argument that the as the movie goes on, they're just putting on screen what was hidden before, and that those things were already there. But I do think that there are a couple scenes missing in there.
Okay.
That being said,
Fair
yes,
enough.
it's a full epic. It's like it's basically I don't want to say The Godfather because The Godfather was a little bit more constrained in time,
Mhm.
but maybe something like what's the best picture like picture maybe something like Boyhood, which didn't win Best Picture, but you get the point. Something like Boyhood, but not for like uh, between 6 and 18, but
Okay.
between 32 and 68.
Mhm.
I don't know the actual ages, but something like that. Like, you see the
Mhm.
full
Mhm.
scope of someone's life and someone's contribution to this.
Okay.
And there's also like a lot of, and it's not just that. It's also an immigrant story. It's
Mhm.
a story about uh, traumatic events affecting you your whole life, but also uh, an immigrant story on how we sometimes neglect neglect people like or look over our shoulders at them
Mhm.
when they come from afar, and how um, we may be uh, adding on more trauma, more to their
Two of
trauma
them.
than
Mhm.
yeah, like
Okay.
not even
I need to
not
see it.
not
Like, I really want to go see it. I just haven't been able to carve out the time. I'm with you. I'm on Team Anora for Best Picture at this point. I would love for that mostly too because one, well, I not to say I didn't love this movie. I did love this movie, but I just know that watching like the Oscars with Janelle, while if that were to happen, that would be great. But if the Brutalist is to win, how would that affect maybe some other awards that we're seeing? Like, so if we know that, like, if we see, for instance, Timothée Chalamet, I really want Timothée Chalamet to win Best Lead Actor for his role as Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. But if Adrian Brody were to win for The Brutalist in this category, is that something that maybe I should keep tabs on, like, okay, that's maybe telling me something of where the Academy is voting this year, and I should expect a Brutalist win for Best Picture, or because sometimes we see those like the avalanche a little bit with some of those major ones. They come out to that same movie because they want to reward that movie over and over. But if Chalamet is to win Best Actor, does that mean that perhaps we could see something other than the Brutalist win?
I don't think there's a chance in hell that Shaman is winning.
I'm
I'm
telling
sorry.
you. I'm
I'm
telling you.
sorry.
I think there's a
There's
chance.
no way.
That's my
I
guy.
don't think so. There's a couple of reasons. One is that Adrian Brody is going to win. I think that
Oh, yeah.
there are very few locks going into next Sunday, and I
Mhm,
think one of them is Adrian Brody. Like there's
mhm.
roughly anyone else in that category. Maybe Ray Fiennes because of the whole lifetime achievement,
Right.
not the actual
Ray
lifetime
Fiennes
achievement
for
award,
sure.
but
Mhm.
like he's been craving for that Oscar for a long time.
Right.
But other than that argument, Adrian Brody is going to win Best Actor
I got an
next week.
argument for you. I got an argument
Okay.
for you. It's we're living in a time right now where a movie like Anora could win Best Picture. We're in a movie where Emilia Perez is the number one Academy nominated film in terms of number of nominations. They are, I think they really want some of these younger, bigger, bolder movie stars to kind of be the face of cinema moving forward. And Timothy Chalamet is probably number one on that list of the biggest movie stars in the world. He's somehow the guy that plays a role like Bob Dylan here, plays Paul Atreides in Dune. I've seen him incredible in Little Women, and is also dating. Kylie Jenner. I mean, this is someone that
What
he's
does that
so
have to do with anything?
it does have to do it. He is because he is so like he's not the kind of person I would expect to be dating Kylie Jenner. He's also showing up on College Game Day here at in the United States for college football.
I just think that's a
There is
PR
so
stunt.
many like so it might be a PR stunt, but the man went on and he was blasting facts. Okay, so I just think that they
Okay,
might want
maybe
someone like that to be up there receiving his award, knowing that he's a bit of a wild card. We want to reward the future here of cinema, perhaps in terms of like our movie stars and putting him up there. Not that they're voting for ratings, not that they're voting for other things, but in terms of a big splash at the Oscars this year, him being on stage, winning, that Academy Award for this, that would be the biggest story, I think, coming away from the Oscars, if no matter what happens.
I will give you the standard argument to yours, and I do know what you're gonna counter with, but I do think this is something to consider. The Academy does not like typically to hand over these awards to young male actors.
Mm-hmm.
So take Leo, who had to work out for 20 years to get that Oscar. Take Ray Fiennes, even, who hasn't even done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
These people, like Leo is the prime example, but still, like there are these undeniable gonna be Oscar winners that the Academy likes to wait a little bit and make them work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's going to be Timmy's case.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the opposite case for women, for example. So take
Like
Jennifer
Emma
Lawrence,
Stone. Or
Emma
I was gonna
Stone.
say Emma Stone.
I mean, Emma Stone was still like had been working for a while when
Right.
she got the Oscar for La La Land, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that can be an argument. Jennifer Lawrence won it like right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and who else? Like there are a couple others in like previous years who won it like really fast in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey Madison might win it this year, and that
Mm-hmm.
would be an example. Uh, I still think that Demi Moore has a bit of a better odds, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't rule out Mikey. And yeah, I think that that's an argument. And the counter argument, of course, is that this is not the Academy that voted for Leo or that didn't vote for Leo,
Right.
uh, in 2008 or so,
Mm-hmm.
or seven when the Departed came out.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that some of that feeling prevails, and it's
Okay.
not just that feeling; it's also the fact that Adrian Brody was undeniable in the
Mm-hmm.
movies. It's not
Right.
this. This is Leo's to lose. This is sorry. This is Timmy's to lose. This is
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Brody's to win.
Right, right. It would be a big surprise. Like I'm not saying that
Yeah,
he's, a favorite. I don't know. Part of me wonders if like we've seen like you mentioned, not having seen that before, new academy, we're seeing things we haven't really seen before, new trends maybe being set in what they're voting for, what's being nominated. It wouldn't I would not be shocked if they were like, yeah, we're gonna give it to Timothy. And then I
yeah.
just be must see TV if he gets up there. I have no idea what he's going to say. No idea what
No, I
that
mean,
reaction would be.
yeah,
I'm locked in.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But no, it's exciting. So last thing I wanted to talk about before we can branch off into anything else that you wanted to discuss for the Oscars was this is a lock. If is this the lock? Like is this the lock?
Yeah,
Wild Robots best
yeah.
animated film? Like it should easily
Honestly,
clear. I'm still mad that the song when they're doing the whole
yeah,
like montage of her helping what's the
yeah. The
duck's
Kiss the
name
Sky
now?
song.
Yes, the Kiss the Sky song. I can't believe that wasn't nominated. And when I told
Yeah,
Janelle that it wasn't nominated, she was furious because she said that the Wild Robots, quote unquote, revived animated cinema for her. Uh, I don't know. Whatever, take that however you want to, but maybe that was the case for a lot of people.
uh, I think the similar thing happened to my girlfriend, where she also like wasn't expecting much from it, and she
Hmm.
loved it very much. And yeah, I think the song was the snub this year
Hmm.
because I don't think that should have been nominated. I thought that that song was gonna win.
Hmm.
And yeah, the song from Emilia Perez that's probably going to win. It is not a bad song, but the Kiss the Sky song is just it's not. it's not just like the traditional Oscar win, it's also like a
Right.
really fun song. So
Right.
I'm really surprised on that one. On the full Wild Road argument, I do think that this is pretty much a lock. I was not expecting this to be the case, honestly. Like when the nominations came out and the week prior or so, I was
Hmm.
expecting Flow to put up some competition here,
Hmm.
just because so many people actually enjoy that movie
Right.
and have like very high up their lists. There's also the fact that not many people have watched it, and The Wild Robot, I think most Academy voters have watched it. So yeah, I do think that's the closest thing we have to a lock this year,
Hmm.
even
I
more so than
I
Agent
sure hope
Boy.
so. So the funny story with the Wild Robot here is I was trying to figure out a movie to go see for the weekend, and I was looking through what was coming out, and Megalopolis was coming out, and the Wild Robot was coming out like the same like week. And so I decided I wanted to go see Wild Robot. And so Janelle was busy on this Friday night. So I'm like, oh, I'll go Friday. As soon as I get done with work, I'll go work out. Boom. Wild Robot started my week off strong. Janelle's plans, and I had asked her to come see this movie with me, and she said, "No, I don't really feel like it." And then she's like, "No, doesn't really sound that interesting to me." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I will tell you this right now. I have a 100% movie accuracy rating when it comes to getting Janelle to go to the movies with me when I think she will enjoy it. That's neither here nor there. I just and she would agree. She would agree. So with that being said, I go through my week. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. I'll go by myself. And she makes plans with her friends. Friday afternoon, plans with the friends fell through. She texts me, goes, "Hey, what are you doing today?" I was like, "Well, I told you what I'm doing." She goes, "Well, you want to do something different? I'm available now." I said, "No, you don't get to come in now and say you're available now and want me to switch." I said, "I have bought my movie ticket. There is a seat open right next to me. If you would like to, you can purchase that movie ticket. We'll go see the Wild Robot together." And because she was getting some FOMO, she said, "Sure, like we'll go see the Wild Robot." And I said, "I'll get you. We'll get some Chick-fil-A or something before." And sure enough, we go to the Wild Robot. An hour in, I just look over and she's just crying. Like she's just crying. And Janelle does not cry like during movies. I'm the one that usually starts shedding. And I look over and she's crying. And this kid behind us, when Roz dies, I guess the first for a few minutes, this kid behind us in the theater was there with his mom. Goes, "No, mom, they were too late." And Janelle's like, she's gonna be okay. Like she's like losing it, and so I really want this. I really want this movie to get its moment there for best animated. But I just always funny how that was a movie she did not want to go see, and then turns into that was what she would probably call her favorite movie of the year until we saw Nora last weekend, I would guess. But
I also had a like I also saw the Wild Robot in London at the London Film Festival, and the, the room was full with kids. Okay, it was a 2:30 p.m. screening. It was like the only one. We actually had, I think, yeah, Chris Molidandri, like the head um of no, it wasn't. Is this? No, this is not the. No, sorry. Not Molidandri. The head of DreamWorks was there.
mhm.
It's a DreamWorks movie, and there was like a full 20-minute speech. Pedro Pascal was there as well. Like
Oh
it was
yes.
like a full thing. Okay, and there was like the movie starts, and there was this kid like sitting not too far away from me who was living the movie so much that he was just talking to the screen the full time, and like the full audience was in silence, just in awe with this kid, just because he was enjoying it so much, and there was just like this sense of like everyone coming together to tell him it's gonna be okay, and he was just talking to the robot on screen, and yeah, like a similar experience to yours, but like
I love that.
picture a full like 1,000+ people just in awe of this kid.
I love that. That's
It was fun.
why the movies are the best. That's why the movies are the best. Any other Oscar? So the actress, I will say I don't feel like I would love Mikey Madison to win, but in terms of anyone else that's in that leading role, do you think that there's any way for anyone? I don't. I have no opinions really on and anyone else.
I mean,
strong
So
opinions, I guess.
the interesting thing about the acting categories is that we're recording this right before the SAG Awards. And I
Mhm.
think the SAG Awards are gonna tell us, are gonna give us a little bit more insight into that. Because yeah, Mikey won a couple of them, including the BAFTA,
Right.
which was surprising to me. So there's a chance for her because some of the voting bodies overlap between the BAFTAs and the Oscars.
Right.
Now that the Academy is so international, still it's not a very large overlap. So I do think that Anora has the higher chance right now, especially given the PGA and the DGA awards, and especially if they win, which I'm not expecting them to, but if they win the best ensemble at SAG, like I think the race is over. I think that
Mhm.
it's gonna be theirs to lose.
Mhm.
That's for this picture. For best actress, I do think that Demi Moore has the better
Mhm.
chance at this moment. If not, perhaps Mikey. And between Fernanda and Cynthia, I'm not. I would say Fernanda first and then Cynthia, but that's all also because I didn't really like Wicked.
Right.
So
I know you're not a big Wicked fan.
I am not.
I loved it. I loved it. I have to say I loved it. It's just
Yeah,
why
I was not for
for
me.
actress in a supporting role, I know Ariana Grande has she's not going to win.
I wouldn't rule it out.
I don't think she's gonna win.
I
I
wouldn't
would be
rule it out, to
surprised.
be honest.
Okay.
I would be surprised as well. I'm expecting Zoe to win,
That's what I was gonna
especially
say.
because I think she's the one who's going to benefit the most from Carlos Sofia Gascon's like PR nightmare. I think that there's been talk about how gracefully she handled all of that, and there was already talk about her performance before that. Which, by the way, I think she should have been nominated in the Best Actress category, but again, like that's a different argument. And I get that. I get why they went for the other actors,
Right, right, right.
but next to next to Zoe, I wouldn't rule out Ariana Grande, to be honest.
I just hope I want some Wicked love. My sister loves Ariana Grande, so I was like, give her the win. She just her
Th-
vocals are insane. But I haven't seen The Brutalist, but I would love for Felicity Jones to win for that in that
There's
category as
also
well.
a good chance that she wins. I mean, there's the argument also to be made about Ariana that many people in the Academy clearly loved Wicked,
Mhm.
and there's not many categories where they can actually vote for Wicked, uh, without hurting other people, other movies. And I don't think that they would feel as bad for not voting for an Emilia Perez category,
Mhm.
an Emilia Perez win, meaning Zoe. So
Right, right.
perhaps like that is the category where they actually put their Wicked love into.
Mhm. Well, we'll see what happens. We got a week to go. So to wrap things up, March. Any movies upcoming next month here in March? We got about a week that you're top on your list right now that you really want to see. Anything that you're looking forward to
So
a little more than others?
March was going to be Sinners Month, but now they moved it to April, and they
Right.
moved up this Mickey 17 movie from Bong Joon-ho that I was not putting any stock into. And then the reviews came out, and the reviews are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So I am now very much looking forward to Mickey 17.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I've been looking forward to it. I love Robert Pattinson so much. And then this is Bong Joon-ho's first major film since Parasite, right? Like this is the first
yeah, the
big one.
major
So
or otherwise.
right, okay, that's what I thought. So I'm really excited for this. I was when I saw it was we moved it up to March. It's number one on my list right now.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking at the schedule. I don't think there's much else going on other than, have you heard of actually let me get the title right. The Alto Knights. Do you know what this
Yes,
movie
I
is?
have it written down. The De Niro mob, like
Yeah.
gangster movie. No, I have that written down as well. I love a good De Niro
Okay,
as like a
so I'm not
mobster. I wasn't a big fan of
especially.
The Irishman, though. I'll be honest.
I'm not really looking forward to this movie, but this movie is on my watch list. Not like I want to watch this. I want to watch how people watch this. Because do you know the history of this movie?
No, I don't know anything about it yet. I
So
haven't
this
looked
was the
into it.
first movie
I
that
just saw the trailer.
current Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav greenlit when he took office
Okay.
3 years ago. Okay, this was the first. Like you gotta understand that this guy was like, I'm coming in here. I'm gonna cut expenses everywhere. We're not going to do this anymore.
Mhm.
This department is going away. And then he greenlit a movie starring Robert De Niro with a budget of maybe $90 million,
Mhm.
which is pretty much exactly the opposite of what he said he was going to do.
Right.
So, how many people are going to go see the Aldo
Not
Nights
probably
starring
not very
Robert De
many,
Niro?
but
Not enough to actually justify a budget of $90 million. And he just did it because he was buddies with someone who wanted to make the movie. And
Mhm.
it was just a case of
I'll go
all
see it
Hollywood.
probably by myself. I might be able to talk on one or two friends and then going to see it. I don't love mobster movies. I'm like I don't love them, but I enjoy them enough to go see. Like I watched The Irishman. I didn't love The Irishman that much, but I'll go see this. I'm intrigued enough. How bad do you think Snow White? I think it comes out next month. I think it comes out in
Oh,
March.
that's right.
How bad is
Oh, it's
Snow
gonna be
White
pretty bad.
going to flop? Like how bad is that going to just tank on a scale of 9 to 10?
I'm gonna say it's going to make around 40 million opening weekend.
I'll be honest, that might be generous. I
Maybe,
don't think
maybe,
anyone's going to go see it. I think
maybe.
this has the this has the rare case of having every production nightmare possible, every PR nightmare possible, and not looking very good either on top of it. Like it just has the big three. It's the triple crown winner here.
I would add a fourth one, and it's a general disinterest in this
Mm,
story.
right.
I don't think anyone is saying I want to see that movie, and not because of any of the factors that you mentioned. Like on top of all of those factors, I would say, like there's
So
just
my friends and I, we did
who
our
cares.
like movie auction that I was telling you about. We did our movie auction for the year, and we ended up adding a category of who can get the movie like with a 50% or below audience score. And so this might be the one that might take that. We'll see. I don't know. There's a chance. There's a
That's a
chance.
good question. Uh,
Are you did you watch The Accountant? Like The
the
Accountant
first one, yeah.
2? The second one that comes out this in March, I believe.
Is it okay? Is it
I think it
March for
comes
sure?
out.
I thought it was April.
I think it comes out this month, like the very
Hmm,
end of the
I'm
month.
not. I'm not seeing it here. Let me check out. This is very bad. Hmm.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. But I think Snow White's
April,
gonna be a
April
disaster.
25th.
Oh, it's April. Never
Well,
mind. Okay.
in Spain at least. I'm not sure
Oh,
about
okay.
the US.
We can save that one. The only other one I had written down was Black Bag with the Kate Blanchett, Pete Brosnan movie that comes out. I saw a trailer for it. Looked interesting enough. I might go give it a watch. Have you heard about that one?
I have not.
It's basically you have this husband wife that are spies or like killers in some way, and they get pitted against one another essentially. And it's like this thriller type movie. Might go check it out. So
Okay.
okay,
So
Mickey.
the
So but
reason,
Mickey 17. That's the movie we're most looking forward to then.
yeah,
Oh
so the reason why you maybe were thinking about The Accountant is because it's premiering at the South by Southwest Festival in
yeah.
March, and
Okay.
then it's opening in April worldwide.
Okay. Very good. Well, Deep Space Cinema. That's the name that we're going with for now. We'll roll with it. We'll see what happens.
Until
You
we
never know.
change our minds.
Until we change our minds. But the main thing to take away from this episode is Anora for Best Picture. Like that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're cheering for. And we are cheering for Mikey Madison to win. Are you like hoping that it sweeps that as well? Like you get a Mikey Madison like
So so
plus best picture
here's what I'm
moment?
hoping, and I'm gonna end with this, okay? So do you know how many titles Sean Baker has on this movie? Sean Baker is the director, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's the director, he's the writer, he's a producer, he is the editor, and he is the casting director. And maybe I'm skipping one of them. I can't even remember. But that's like the big five. I'm just hoping he gets home with another Oscar other than Best Picture.
Okay. That you're happy with that. You're happy with that.
And yes, yes,
Mm.
could be original screenplay. I think there's a very good chance that he goes away with original screenplay. If, by the way, if he wins original screenplay, that's like the Parasite indication that this may be a sweep. But we'll see.
Mm.
Could be best director as well, because I do think that um, there is people in Hollywood are very passionate about this movie in ways
Right.
that we didn't really realize until these awards started to be handed over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people in
The
Hollywood,
buzz is there.
like filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're jealous. And I had heard this like some podcast I think a few months ago that people in Hollywood are jealous that he actually got to make this movie and that how creative it is and a breath of fresh air and just so different from everything else that
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're gonna reward it. And also I have huge respect for him because he's he's probably craving an Oscar, but his big aspiration in life was to win the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
And once he did that, he was just so happy, and I'm just happy for him. So yeah, I'm gonna end with that.
Well, that's perfect. Perfect thing. We'll see what happens. I'll be texting you throughout the awards. I'll help you stay awake as well if we ever hit a
I
lull
will.
and the ceremonies too. But we'll see you next month for a breakdown of who wins. Mickey 17. We'll be talking about that one. We will be discussing the disaster that will probably be Snow White, and then looking ahead to a jam-packed April of movies. We will see you next month, everyone. Later on.